Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Leadership Boy podcast. I'm Enrique, my co-host Vince, and we are so happy to have a great guest. As you can see by my my little bottle here, he's doing great things not only in the veteran community but in as a business owner. And I'm gonna let Vince introduce him.
Oh yeah, I'm so excited today because it is the Labor Day week, and everybody just had Labor Day. And guess what? If you missed out on some marinades and some dressings for some salad and some food, this is the man you need to talk to. We have with us John Currie, founder of Semper Savage from College Park, Maryland. So we're all the way in the Northeast. We're very excited to have you, John. First, thank you for being here. So tell us about you.
Yeah, thank you. Just really excited to be here. Hey, so my story is pretty simple. I served about 23 years in the United States Marine Corps. I was an AH-1 whiskey pilot there. Got to work with a ton of amazing people from across all walks of life in the Marine Corps, to include other services and of course the Navy as well in aviation. And so I love doing that for about 23 years or so. Got some great experience. And then after that, I went back to work at Headquarters Marine Corps for 4 years, working on some of the same stuff I'd been working on at the end of my Marine Corps career as I got more senior and was doing more, Pentagon-centric sort of acquisition stuff. And I loved that too. And I had a great time at Headquarters Marine Corps. Would never have left, but I got another offer dropped in my lap to go to work for State Department. I work for State Department right now, and that's what I'm doing while my wife Stacy and I are running Semper Savage, which has introduced products less than a year ago still. So we're still very young, and we're trying to get this venture really going and get the word spread. We do have some outstanding products that you guys got to try, always developing more. And now we're working real hard on getting the word out, on growing it, on serving the veteran community, serving their families, serving first responders. That's really something we're starting to concentrate on now, as we're coming up on a year of having launched products. We're really looking at different ways that we can serve veterans in the community. So that's where we're at now.
Outstanding. And I tell you, for a person that has received your product and has been, dibbing, dabbing in it, it is great. And I'm so happy to hear you're from the aviation. I know you know what a -1 is, but we're talking about Semper Savage. So tell us a little bit about this venture that you're in.
Hey, so it's a great story. I mean, it really kind of is. So, and I'll just quickly run through the whole little timeline. But when I was a kid, when I was about middle school age or something, I got to where I really liked eating salad. I don't remember why, I really don't, but I just got to where I ate a lot of salad. I'm telling you, to this day, if you ran into friends that have served with me or were friends with mine during high school even, and hey, was there anything weird about, like, John, was he unusual with his eating habits? And they'd probably go, dude ate a lot of salad. I just liked it. So one of the things I found frustrating was there was these great restaurants that my family and I used to go eat at, and they had awesome salad dressing, and I'd just be tearing that stuff down, man, loving it. But when I would go to make one at home, I'd take something off the shelf, and I'd be like, oh, that's not what I'm looking for. So it grew out of this frustration that I had literally like in middle school, high school, of not being able to make a salad that was as good as the one we would get at these mom and pop Italian restaurants that we were eating at, right? So I started trying to make my own. That's the bottom line. I started trying to make my own. I did have the pleasure of working at a small Italian restaurant where I kind of learned how to make food in general. And what I took away from that was great recipe, great ingredients, put it together right, voila, it's not that hard, it's not rocket science, you got great food. So I learned that there. And so I just started experimenting. That was the extent of my culinary background, was tossing pizzas around at a pizza joint and making sandwiches and pasta and some of those sorts of things. But at any rate, experimented my way, made a lot of terrible concoctions, and eventually I just kind of hit on, okay, extra virgin olive oil, that's a key. Hey, I don't want to put too much sage in it. That's a key. And I would just kind of experiment, and I hit on a formula. It probably wasn't until 2008 or 9 timeframe where I hit on a formula that worked. And it was a red wine vinaigrette. And I'm like, holy moly, this is what I was going for. This is great. Started using it with friends and family. Friends and family started encouraging us to put it in a bottle. I thought it was going to be too expensive. I didn't want to take that much risk. Well, 2 events happened in fairly quick succession. Our oldest daughter was away at school. She missed the salad dressing because she too couldn't find anything that she really liked on the shelves. So she and her mom kind of were in cahoots on this, but they gave me for Christmas one year, they gave me a case of mason jars, which I have. I like to show these because this is one right here. This is one of the original mason jars. And I'm going to try to get it close to the camera so you can see the original label that our daughter came up with. She took a crazy picture of me. She wrote John Currie's world famous salad dressing on it. And she gave me a case of them. In there was a note that said, Merry Christmas, fill these up with salad dressing. So it was kind of fun, it was a funny thing, but seriously, we started looking at it, we're going, I kind of like the way that looks. Maybe we should do something like that. Same time, I was working at Headquarters Marine Corps Aviation at the time. Good buddy of mine, Matt Talbert, who I'm actually going to talk to this afternoon. We're always doing stuff together. Well, he's got 2 businesses. He's got one called Smoked Virginia, and he's got one called Smoke and Shine Barbecue Sauce. Well, he walked in one day. I'd already worked with him for a couple of years, and somebody says, "Hey, Mac, how's your barbecue sauce business?" I'm like, "What? Never knew he had this." So he goes, "Oh yeah, we're doing great, and we're in X number of stores, et cetera, et cetera." I'm like, "Mac, I've got this salad dressing. Can we talk about how to do things?" Long and short, Mac was able to mentor us through getting a product into a bottle, and it was really that simple. And that's when we decided, wow, we've got so many friends and family wanting us to make our products available. We're getting a little bit sick of mixing up stuff in mason jars and taking it everywhere. Why don't we get it in a bottle? Well, so we did. And then we kind of thought about it, and we're like, well, what do we really want to do with this? And I decided it was probably more me than Stacy where I really wanted to go for it and make something happen with this. Well, Stacy very quickly got on board too. She started inventing new salad dressings and new marinades, and God, we've got 6, 7, 8. I can't remember the total number, but we've got at least 4 that are ready to be put in bottles now that we haven't launched. So she's in product development doing all that. And so that's kind of where we're up to now. We actually started the company in 2018, in October of 2018, but it was a full year of hard work. I'm talking about everything from getting recipes tested to in the lab, to doing artwork, to nailing down a name for the company, to coming up with a business strategy on what we actually wanted to do with the business, which is slightly different than most folks that are in the food business. We're doing an online model. A lot of reasons for that, which we can discuss later. But at any rate, took us about a full year from actually starting the company in a formal sense before we launched any products. November 11th of last year, Veterans Day, we launched 2 products online, and we're coming up on that now. We're in September, so we're just a couple months shy of being a year from launching products. So that's where we're at.
Well, John, I love the origin story, which grew out of frustration. A lot of entrepreneurs and nonprofits start in that fashion, definitely. So
Absolutely.
hearing the origin story hearing exactly what is currently your entrepreneurship journey and what you're currently doing is great. So I'll combine this question next is how you holding up as you're getting to your first year of your company, and what is next on the horizon for Semper Savage?
Yeah, so it's holding up fairly well. There's always going to be hiccups, and I think this gets into the core of your podcast. There's always going to be hiccups. You've always got to be flexible as a leader, as a business owner, whatever your situation is. You got to be ready to flex as things change. And so we realized we were doing some things that were inefficient. Made some rudder changes over the year. When the COVID bit hit back in spring, we made a decision then to do some major retooling. Completely redid our website. Completely changed the way we were engaging the public. Kind of changed our focus a little on a few items, and so the focus for this year, how are we holding up? How are we holding up? We're doing well. We're making some changes, trying to improve at all times on all fronts, because we know we're young. We know we got a lot to learn. We know that we're going to have to grow and engage some experts to help us to grow in the right way. So as we approach 1 year, I think we're about where I thought we'd be. Of course, you always hope for, that kind of winning the lotto moment where somehow things just go crazy and it's beyond your wildest of dreams. But I think we're about where I expected to be. Over the next year, I expect to launch at least 2 more products. Also during that time, I expect to grow our sales dramatically. I think we've started to gain a little bit of traction, and I think over the next year, I think that's going to be where we're going to figure out how strong of a run this company and this product line is going to have. If it takes off, really starts to ramp up, great. If it doesn't, we're going to have to really evaluate what is it that's holding us down. We're so confident in the products and how people like them that we're just highly confident in that area that we have a good product. So, we're always trying to find where it is we can improve. We think the products are excellent, and we are always seeking feedback. And so that's at least kind of a known stake in the ground, right? Hey, we know we got a good product. So we know it's not because people hate the product and think it's junk. We know they like the product. What can we do to better engage and serve our customers and our fan base? So that's what we plan on doing over the next year. Launch a couple more products and just continue to grow and keep feeding this, this little growing movement that we have to save the world from eating bad salad dressing and marinades.
Well, hey, John, I tell you that you're definitely right. It's not the matter of the product, because I tell you, I got a balsamic downstairs that's halfway through, and I think Vince has one that's halfway through. So it's being consumed, it's being loved, and I think it's probably more of a matter of when, right? That this is going to happen than if. So. You guys have done great work in that regard, and I'm happy to hear all you've done so far and how you're headed forward. And talking about headed forward, right, some background on the Leadership Boys, the leadership podcast, and we're going to talk a little bit about leadership.
Right.
You having that leadership background, as a pilot, and I appreciate you specifically from the Me Talk side. Because we have a great relationship on the flight line,
Sure.
But in terms of leadership and capabilities thereof, what have you done to continue to develop your leadership skills? And now that you're heading into a venture where you're leading a company.
Yeah, I think it's very much the same. anywhere you go. I think the basics are the same. The only thing that changes is maybe the tools, maybe the environment a little bit. So I learned a lot of things over the years as a young Marine Corps officer, and even before that, I learned quite a few things that have served me well since then. But I think the big characteristic that most really excellent leaders uh, implement is understanding, being humble and understanding they don't have all the answers, understanding they need to seek the expertise of others, and then listening to that expertise, listening to suggestions, being a good listener when you hear the groundswell of whether it's rumor or you get this feeling about what's going on with your subordinates, you need to listen. And when maybe your peers are kind of trying to tell you something, you need to listen. And when your superiors are trying to give you advice or correct you or change direction with you, you need to listen. So I think that's just that critical skill of staying humble, of listening, and of being able to not so much take criticism. Take criticism is kind of a given. You got to be able to take criticism and not take it very personally. But I think what I'm referring to is just really listening to the messages that are coming from all the directions that you need support from and that you need to be serving. So, right. So we've got to serve our subordinates. I always viewed my Marines as I was not their boss. I always viewed it as I was there to serve them. I was there to serve their needs. Now, I think it worked out fairly well for me. It would be interesting probably to have a conversation with some of those people to see if it was really effective. But I always took the approach that I was there to serve my subordinates. At the same time, I was there to make my boss successful, even if I didn't agree with it, even if he made me, even if it made it very difficult at times for me to support him. That was my job, was to try to support him, we used to say, keep him out of jail, right? Let's not, hey boss, I really think we need to think about this, this mission or whatever. I think it's a little high risk. Why don't we reconsider it? Even if he shoots you in the face, that's your duty, is to give him that pure thought based on your expertise, and don't hold back. Never had anybody react too badly to the truth, when I was telling somebody superior to me. But really, just to get back and very simply answer your question, I think the biggest thing I took away was that skill. It's a little bit of a skill of listening, making yourself listen, but staying humble enough to take it on board. It's huge.
Well, definitely, John. We've done a survey, and listening always resonates up as far as what advice or what things we can do to grow and have. What I heard you say was also a lot about humility. Keeping the boss out of jail type thing.
Yeah.
It's definitely some great advice. So where are you at now is trying to understand what are you currently doing to continue to sharpen your saw to develop as a leader?
Yeah, so I think one of the big things is, one, to continue to listen. So I work for the State Department. I'm in aviation, the State Department. I work overseas, very similar to what I did in the Marine Corps. Similar relationships that I might have had in the squadron over there. Always keeping my eyes open, eyes and ears open, listening to those people, continuing to every day reevaluate, am I listening? Am I serving? Same thing in Semper Savage. Am I serving my customers? Am I listening when my wife, Stacy, says, hey, I think we need to go in a different direction? Just really taking a moment, almost like a quiet time or something every day, to reevaluate, be self-reflective. Am I doing those things? Oh, maybe I didn't do it as well yesterday. Let's act a little more wise today, and let's try to accomplish that. So that's something that a personal habit that I kind of do every day. The other thing is, man, you got to keep your eyeballs open and your ears open for wise guys. And when I say wise guys, I mean wise people. And sometimes I find someone who's contemporary, who's just spouting wisdom at the cyclic rate. And I'm like, man, I need to get some of this guy. Somebody like a Jordan Peterson, who I read and I listen to his lectures and stuff. And I'm like, wow, this guy has really got some great perspective. A guy like Simon Sinek, who has written some really successful books, just has a very gentle, empathetic approach to a lot of things. I think he's an important thinker. So keeping your eyes open, but then sometimes going back in time. I'm starting to get really into Dostoevsky again, who was one of the most important writers in history. And I think he's dense and he's a little complex, and his books are long, and people don't want to read him because it's hard. But Dostoevsky, reading a guy like that, Solzhenitsyn, who is a semi-contemporary, 60s and 70s writer out of Russia, who wrote specifically on human nature in the Gulag system of the Soviet Union. Very important for our times to understand that stuff. So really, that's it too. Just keeping my eyes open and listening for who is the next guy who is very wise, who's somebody else who is in line with what I've already confirmed as my own personal beliefs, to continue to make me better.
I totally agree with that. Wisdom, whatever form it may come your way, if you let it slip on by and you don't grasp that or get a hold of it and make it your own, right? Because it's going to be different, because different perspective. But that's a very solid piece of advice to sharpening your sword or your sword,
Sure.
however you yield it. But undoubtedly in leadership, we find challenges, and we always facing some type of challenge. You going into business, you'll find some challenges, whether it be your business model or the actual product or the customer you're serving. And as leaders, we have to start to put a vision into how we're going to face challenges, how we're going to solve those challenges. What challenges have you faced in leadership, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, so first of all, I wrote an article on this called Cotton Balls and Cannonballs. And I was really super fortunate. As a very young lieutenant, I showed up in my first squadron, and I went to part of the process of checking in. I went to visit the MAG CO, the Marine Air Group CO, who's a colonel, a guy named Dixie Patton. And he was an old Vietnam vet. He had been a sniper as an enlisted guy. He became an officer, became a pilot, became a man commander. Well, long and short is, he gave me some wisdom that day as a young lieutenant. He just sat me down. I was still in my alphas, all intimidated and everything. But he said, essentially, hey, you're going to need to understand the difference between a cotton ball and a cannonball. And I'm like, I'm on receive, I'm like, oh, really, sir? No idea what the old guy's talking about. And he goes, a cotton ball is an issue or a problem you have that doesn't really matter. You don't necessarily have to take action on it now, maybe not take action at all. A cannonball is something you gotta get on it right now. And a cannonball is essentially someone died, someone is in grave danger of dying, losing eyesight, losing limb, and or like an airplane crashes or something like that. Those are all cannonballs, but he gave me a few examples like that. And he said, everything else in your life is a cotton ball. And I thought, I'm not sure if the old guy's crazy or what, but I chewed on it for a while. And especially as I got to know him over the years, chewed on it for a while, and I realized how correct he was, that there are cannonballs and there are cotton balls. And the super important things really do, if I take that perspective in my life, it really does fall into super, very immediate, big, important, sometimes terrible things. Everything else does not warrant getting excited about. So I tell that story because that's a perspective that I bring to any problem. It's the lens through which I have viewed almost everything the rest of my life. And so I just think it's really important, before I even talk about a challenge that I might have met over the years, that I was able to get a little bit of a taste of some really, really wise advice from a very experienced guy early on. So I think you asked me some specific challenges over the years that I had run into. Probably the most pervasive, and the one that people would run into, that this would help the most people with, if I tell this story, is having a disconnect between leadership and the troops. And when I say the troops, it could be anybody that's at the working level. If you work at a bank and, 2 levels up, people are setting sales goals that are unrealistic. The troops, become unhappy. But when there's a disconnect between what leadership is trying to do and the troops are seeing or experiencing, that is a huge challenge if you are that intermediate level leader. If you're that 03 or 04, captain, major, lieutenant commander type level, staff NCO level, E6, E7, that is a huge challenge to translate that to your troops, to keep the boys motivated. Keep them motivated, to keep them together in one team, to keep them from getting angry and bitter. That is a humongous challenge. And that's why I told that story first, was because, first of all, I think they need to hear, maybe get a little perspective. Say, hey guys, I know we don't like what's happening right now. It's okay that we don't like it, but here's a few things. One, this is all a cotton ball. It will pass. You're going to be okay. Just take care of each other. Look out for each other. You got any problems, come to me. That's sort of an approach to continue to build that team and that family. Excuse me, I hit my mic. To continue to build that team and that family, even when they're disconnected in terms of what they think is the correct course of action, and yet someone higher has set a different course of action that is unsavory to those below. That's probably the hardest challenge I've ever faced. And the way I have always dealt with it on the several occasions I have dealt with it is to just really bring the family together, reassure them that I'm still with you, reassure them that our duty is still to serve our superiors and to make it happen, and to make sure that they know I am still here to serve you and that you are important to me, and I'm not going to let anything happen to you. Just take care of each other. Keep doing what you're doing. You're doing great things, and just being encouraging. Huge challenge. Oftentimes, just, that can't be the first time that your troops or your subordinates have seen you either, right? This is an ongoing relationship because it comes down to trust. But yeah, from a leadership perspective, I would say that that's the toughest challenge I've ever run into, is a disconnect between higher and then my own subordinates. Always tough to handle because you do have a duty to both. And that's the way I've handled it.
Well, can I share? Thank you, John, for that. I mean, the perspective of the cotton ball and the cannonball was phenomenal. I think I'm going to steal that with your permission because it was great. But being what you shared as far as the challenges, giving the troops the understanding of having a perspective and communicate is really what I'm hearing from you as a strategy. And talking about strategies, you know, what other strategies do you use either with your team or to deal with the change, which perfect example, COVID, what strategies have you all developed?
Right. So in the business, we took, first of all, super small business, you know, kind of easy to control, you know, because it's pretty small. We took some time out, decided we want to take the opportunity to retool. We saw it as an opportunity. Like, hey, we're going to retool some things. We're going to change some things that we weren't that happy with. Awesome. Now, in my job overseas, without getting into a lot of detail, just general leadership stuff, very, very different situation. Very different situation. Extremely challenging. Travel restrictions have made it so that people have been in country too long, way too long, and they're troopers and they're professionals and they continue to try to drive on, but it's tough. It is tough on them, and I know about it. they let me know about it. I do what I can to try to make things better. Unfortunately, there's not a lot I can do about it either. But again, being a listener, again being that you know, trying to be that voice of reason, to say, hey, you guys are going to be okay. Here's what I need from you. I need you to take care of each other. I need you to watch out for the guy next to you. I know everybody's getting tired. I know everybody's, you know, getting worn out. You're getting sick of being here. Just continue to be vigilant. We will get through this together. Does that answer your question? So that's something specific to COVID that was a real challenge. Has been, still is, ongoing.
Outstanding. And look, we could go on this all day. You have a whole bunch of knowledge to share. We really appreciate your perspective, your leadership in the Marine Corps, your leadership now as heading this, you know, Semper Savage. Folks, we're going to be making sure that you get some of this via the website, and we'll provide that information. But talking about providing information, if someone was to get a hold of you, wants to get a hold of you, get a hold of your product, how would they do that?
Our sales go through our website. So it's sempersavage.com. It'll pop up. And if you Google Semper Savage, you're going to get to our, you know, Google My Business page and all sorts of other social media and whatnot. All of it's got links to get to our website to order. And yeah, you can just go on there, order real quick. We sell it in the Battle Buddy 2-pack and the Fire Team 4-pack. And the reason for that is it's the sweet spot for shipping. If I ship one bottle, it costs the customer too much, and I just didn't want the customer to deal with it. So we sell it at a 2-pack. We pay for the shipping out of that price. Same thing with the 4-pack, which is really the best value, of course, because we're saving the most on shipping. It's a heavy product, as you guys know. It's in a glass bottle. Olive oil is pretty heavy stuff. So anyway, but that's how you get a hold of us. Go to the website and grab you a 2-pack or a 4-pack. Guaranteed you're going to love it. It's homemade salad dressing in the bottle, and it's good stuff.
Absolutely, folks. Sempersavage.com. I would say the slogan is wisdom in a bottle. So that's just my 2 cents. But great having you on with us, John. It's a perfect way to culminate the Labor Day, knowing that we have marinades and dressings out there. Wisdom in a bottle, wisdom from John. And for everyone else out there, all the listeners, if you want to be on our show, if you have any ideas or comments, you can reach us at theleadershipvoid@gmail.com. We'll definitely entertain that. As Enrique has, and as I posted, which John was so grateful to give us some great products and some tasty products. And if you have some of that, some hats, some mugs, we'll be more than happy to share on our show what you got to offer us.
Awesome.
But thank you, John, for that. And Enrique, what is going on next week?
Well, I tell you what, this has been not only entertaining, but we've been able and blessed to partake of John's product here. Next week, it's a very special week, and as you see Vince gloating over there. We celebrate the Air Force birthday. We have a special guest, which we will keep under wraps right now. Because I'll tell you, they are a historic type of person in the Air Force currently, and they'll be with us. So please stay tuned. Get with us next week, and we'll reveal our special guest. But it's been a pleasure, John, to have you on. Thank you for your product. Thank you for your service, and thank you for your company. It's great what happens. There goes Vince. It's great what happens from a frustration, and then it becomes something that you become passionate about, and we all get to enjoy from your solution. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you, guys. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure working with you guys since we hooked up a couple weeks ago, or 3 or 4 weeks ago now. It's just been a pleasure. It was absolutely an honor to be on the show with a couple other veterans who are doing great things. Guys, love what you're doing. Keep it up. Just can't wait to see you guys have all the success in the world with the show.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.